So even though I have so far commented on Purusha Sukta and Sri Sukta among all the Suktas, I think that's the only two Suktas we have studied, right? Somehow it escaped my mind to define what a Sukta is. So the Shastra asks a question, Suktasya paribhasha kim lakshanam? What do you mean by the technical term called Sukta? What is its nature? Because you can't call everything as Sukta. If you just look at the etymology of the word Sukta, Su means well, Uktam means said, well said. That's all. Very simple translation of Sukta is well said. So there are a lot of statements which are well said, isn't it? Early to rise, early to sleep. Well said. But can we call that as Sukta? For that, what our sages say is, we cannot simply make a statement and make an assertion without a proof. And secondly, we should also give proof is Shastra Pramana. That is, Pramana means proof, Shastra means scripture. You must give a proof from the scripture. First condition. And the second condition is that we have to define the characteristics. So a statement can be called as well said if you give the characteristics of what is good. What do you mean by well? For example, suppose you say wellness. So if you say wellness, you have to give its characteristic. That means you are physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, in all respects, you do not have a disease. So then it means you are well. You are well. So many a time, what you think? Suppose somebody says, "How are you?" and we are physically having no problem. Physically, we are absolutely healthy. Then we will say, "I am doing very well." But it is possible that you are mentally agitated. It is possible that you are emotionally, you have actually weaknesses, ignorance, and so on and so forth. How can we say we are well? If somebody asks you, "How are you?" in the context of a scripture, in the context of a Shastra, you can say, "Okay, I am well physically." I mean, I don't say that you should do this in your everyday conversation. That becomes very, very dramatic. So, in fact, I used to make fun at our work. If somebody says, "Hi, how are you?" Do you want me to tell you? I'm doing great. I'll give you a whole list of things as to how I am not well. Nyaya Darshana gives a definition. Lakshana pramanabhyam vastu siddhi nacha pratima matraha. Lakshana pramanabhyam. Lakshana means characteristics. Pramana means proof. Only where there is the definition of the characteristics and you provide a proof, then only your communication is perfect. That statement is perfect. Then Nyaya Shastra goes on to confirm, Nacha pratima matraha. Pratima matra means not just by asserting. So you can assert something, but that assertion cannot be accepted as a sukta because until you actually provide its characteristics and also the proof, then only it can be called a sukta. This is why you can see that in our entire literary heritage, we do not call everything a sukta. So only the Vedic suktas have been called as a sukta. It is because of this proof and this characteristic. Where is my source? Shaunaka Maharshi, a very great sage called Shaunaka, he has written an extraordinary book called Brihad Devata. So this is an indispensable text for serious students of Veda. In the Brihad Devata, Sukta has been defined as by Shaunaka Maharshi as Yat Sampurnam Rishivakyam, that which is exhaustively given by our sages Rishi. So I have elsewhere defined who a Rishi is. So based on that definition, such a person who is a Rishi, Yat Sampurnam Rishivakyam, a Rishi's statement which is in itself complete. That means the statement of the Rishi should not beg for outside proof. Self-contained. That self-contained statement made by a Rishi, how Sushtutaya, in a beautiful way, in an extraordinarily beautiful way, which cannot be imitated, which has not been imitated. See, these mantras and its grandeur, its beauty, its format, to this day, we are not repeated. What is the cumulative knowledge and wisdom of humanity? What is the nature of the communication we have today? In spite of that, we have not been able to replicate. However much we try, is it possible for us to do one mantra, one single mantra? Are we able to, with all our knowledge of Sanskrit and all the Shastras, we are not able to create one mantra because we are not Rishis. Rishi is a Krantadarshi. That's the definition of a Rishi. His vision is extraordinary vision which is not ordinarily available to a human being, an intellectual human being. And that person, Sushtutaya Uktatvat, Yat Sampurnam Rishivakyam, Sushtutaya Uktatvat, which has been said in a beautiful form or a format, Sushtu Uktam iti Suktam ityavidiyate. That will be called as Suktam. So now the homework for us is, while studying any of the sukta, is that the statement made by a Rishi? Is that uttered beautifully? Because you need not even know the meaning of the mantra. By just listening to the mantra, there is something uplifting in that, isn't it? Namo Hiranyabahave Senanye Dishan Chapataye Namaha. How do you feel? You don't even need to know the meaning. Why? Because it's a Rishivakya. Why? It is said beautifully. Why? It is complete in itself. All these three conditions are there. And therefore it is a sukta. And according to Shaunaka Maharshi's Brihad Devata, a sukta must be a Rishivakya. Now, how many kinds of suktas do we come across in the Vedic corpus? Different kinds are there. So this again will be a good homework for you when you are studying, let us say, Purusha Sukta. How do you classify? Sri Sukta, how do you classify? How do you identify the nature of the sukta? There are at least 4 different kinds of suktas we come across in the Veda. The first one is called Ekarishi Sukta. Ekarishi Sukta means a sukta which has been transmitted to us by a single sage. If there is 10, 20 mantras in a particular sukta, all of them have been actually revealed to one single sage. Then if that is there, it is called as Ekarishi Sukta. So that is why we have in our text here and there given an indication of who the Rishi is. Actually, it's my homework to make sure that every mantra we have in these 3 volumes, I trace to the original Rishi so that you will be able to identify what kind of a sukta it is. Then, there is another kind of sukta is where there is only one devata, one deity. Different sages might have joined together and sung the praise of only one deity, and all of them coming together is called as Eka Devata Sukta. So Ekadevata Sukta can be either by one single Rishi or a group of Rishis. They need not even be doing it as a team. It could be done at different periods of time in different locations, different places. As a matter of fact, the Rigveda was revealed to the different sages in geographical distribution as wide as today's Afghanistan, southern part of Turkey, entire Pakistan, the whole of Punjab. They call it as the Sapta Sindhu area, the 7 rivers. It was in that area Rigveda was revealed to the different sages. Of course, in those areas there is no Veda, that's a different issue. But the thing is, that was where the Sapta Sindhu, the 7 rivers that the sages actually meditated upon. But they may all have come across a Ekadevata, and the construction of the sukta of the mantras may be in such a harmonious way that Vedavyasa would have chosen to say, let me put all these things together into one sukta. So Ekadevata Sukta, Eka Rishi Sukta. It can also be a sukta mostly consisting of a single meter, Eka Chandas Sukta. So it may be of multiple rishis or single rishi, multiple devatas or single devata, but there is generally there will be mostly only one chandas. Purush Sukta is a good example for that. There is only 1 or 2 mantras which are not of the same chandas. Then the fourth kind is where a sukta deals with a single topic. Because there you may not have even any devata, it may be just a topic. Take for example the Aikamatya Sukta. In Aikamatya Sukta, the whole message is how do we foster cooperation, friendship and unity among people. So it has nothing to do with a deity, it has nothing to do with philosophy, it has something to do possibly with the social structure. So it can be Artha Sukta, and therefore how many suktas could be there? Possible suktas, Eka Rishi Sukta, 1 Rishi. It can be Eka Devata Sukta, 1 Devata. It can be Artha Sukta. It can be also the topic, 1 single topic. So these are the Chandas Sukta of Eka Chandas Sukta.
One topic is Artha Sukta?
Artha Sukta. Artha means purpose that in this context. So what is the purpose? The purpose is for all of us to be in harmony with each other. Is Aikamatya Sukta. So this is how the Sukta is defined and how the Suktas are classified. Somehow it has slipped my mind. I had not spoken about this in Purush Sukta or Sri Sukta. So the Durga Sukta. So we will have to examine who this Durga is, what is this character, is it a Devata, is it a deity, is it a woman, or is it a concept? So as we study Durga Sukta deeper, we will go into those. One of the good translations of the Durga Sukta is by Swami Vimalananda. It's actually available even on the internet. The Swami Vimalananda of the of the Ramakrishna order, he has written the Mahanarayana commentary he has done, but we will probably go a little deeper than what he has done in his comment. The reason is as obvious, because Vimalananda's writing is for the general public, but here we are going to do a little more deeper study. The first mantra is, as we all know very well, Jata Vedase Sunava Masoma Marati Yato Nidahati Vedaha Sana Parashadati Durgani Vishwana Vedashindam Duritat Yagnihi is the first mantra. So just as an introduction to the Padapatha, let us see how we can break this mantra into words. Jata Vedase. So the swara also slightly changes. Jata Vedase, word number 1. Sunavama. somam arati yataha ni dahati vedaha saha naha parshat ati durgani vishwa nava eva sindhum duhu ita ati agnihi. That is how we do Padapata. What is that? Why we should do? So we can go to the next level of combination. Jata Vedase Sunavama Sunavama Somam Somam Arati Yataha. So what format is that? It is a Kramapada. You take one word, append the next, take the second word, append the third, take the third word, append the fourth, and so on. So for that, this kind of analysis helps. So I wanted to give you an example of how we do Padapada. So we have to know the Rishi. So who is the visionary of this mantra? Which Rishi wrote this particular mantra? So many of you are familiar with the lovely story of Abhijnana Shakuntala. In Abhijnana Shakuntala is a story of a love that happens between a girl who is a divine girl. She is born out of sage Vishwamitra and Menaka, and she was being nourished by a sage called Khandava. And then the king of the nation was called Dushyanta, and this Dushyanta had gone for hunting, and as part of the hunting he discovers this beautiful girl, and then he falls in love with her. And they get married by a system called Gandharva Vivaha, which is a legal marriage. That is where a boy and a girl meet, and they accept that they are going to become husband and wife, and they get the marriage get consummated with as a witness there will be the sun, the moon, and the stars. So they will be the witnesses, and it's a sacred marriage. And in that marriage they get married according to this Gandharva Vivaha Padati, and Shakuntala becomes pregnant. But in the meanwhile, because of the pressures of the kingdom, he could not wait and take her back to the palace. So he gives her his signet ring and then says, I'm going back, and then you get ready and then you come. Afterwards, I have to hurry back to my kingdom. So it was called Abhijnana. And incidentally, what happens, she was all the time thinking of her husband, and at that time another sage, Durvasa, comes, and when Durvasa comes, she is distracted, and she gets a curse that whatever you are thinking, may you forget. There is a moral message there. However much we are engrossed in a project, you cannot ignore your duty. You cannot distract yourself from your responsibility or to the society. It is very important, however you are distracted. So that's the message there. It is not that this sage cursed you or something like that. It is you must have that alertness to be in the present moment also. So that is the message they are trying to give. And after that, so many things happen. She goes. The curse is that whomsoever you are thinking, unless you give a symbol of that transaction of marriage that has happened between you, then only he will recognize you. Otherwise, he will forget you. And then, as they were after some time, Shakuntala with her friends and in an escort, she goes to her husband's house. On the way, she loses the signet ring in the river. And then when she goes to the court of the king, since he had no evidence, he does not remember her at all. So this remembrance is called Abhijnana. So there is a Abhijnana that has been given to us at the time of the birth, at the time of our birth by Ishvara. The Abhijnana given to us, hey life force, hey person, you go and take birth in a human womb, and you take the life of a human form. The Abhijnana given to this life is the purpose of your taking the human birth is to discover the absolute in you, is to discover the Brahman, is to discover the Atman. And we come with the instruction of the Creator, the purpose of our life, and that is the mantra that has been whispered into the ear of this life at the time of conception. And we have lost that ring, and therefore we can never recognize who we are. And we think that this world is real, that we think that the glitter of the world is real, and then we forget the real purpose of our taking birth. So all this has got a philosophical connotation couched in a story. Because story has got its value. Somewhere earlier I have spoken about many times, values are passed by what we know as Kanta Samiti, that means in a very gentle manner through poetry. So this signet ring, since it was lost and rejected by her husband, and she is fully pregnant, and then she was about to die, but at that point of time she is adopted by another sage. His name was Kashyapa Maricha. It is in the ashrama of Kashyapa Maricha that Shakuntala goes, and she gives birth to her son called Sarvadamana, and this Sarvadamana is later on named as Bharata. Once Dushyanta, the way he recognizes her back is a fisherman finds he will be fishing in that river, and he catches a fish, and when he cuts the fish, he finds this signet ring. And signet ring is recognizable by every citizen. In fact, even to this day, we have the signet ring of the United States seal. When you see a United States seal, what do you recognize? It shows that it is the authority of the government of the United States. So the signet ring is used to stamp all official documents. So as soon as Dushyanta sees this signet ring that was brought by this fisherman, he remembers everything, and then he becomes very, very sad that he spurned an extraordinary wife. And he sends all his people to go and search, and they find this his wife was in the ashrama of Kashyapa Marichi, and it was in Kashyapa Marichi's ashrama that Shakuntala gives birth to her son Sarvadamana, who is actually the heir to the throne of Dushyanta. And it is this Kashyapa Maricha who is the Rishi of this mantra. That is why I told you so much story. This mantra, Jata Veda se mantra.
Oh, so this is not Ekarashi.
It may be, it may not be, let us see. That's suspense.
So how do we recognize if we look at a mantra which Rishi?
We cannot know. We have to go to a text called Anukramani. So each Veda has got an Anukramani. So when you go to that Anukramani, it will tell you which mantra was visualized by which Rishi. So it is not intrinsic to the Veda books. So my source is Anukramani. And this is a mantra from Rigveda, and therefore I had to go to Rigveda Anukramani to find who the Rishi is. Chandas is easy to find, because Chandas, we have got rules of Chandas, and this particular mantra is of the Trishtubh Chandas. That is, the meter is called Trishtubh. Trishtubh has got 4 lines of 11 letters each. So you can count Jata Jata Vedase Suna Vama Somam 11. So 11 times 4 is 44. So let me give you just a summary of the meaning, and then we will go through the mantra a little more in detail next time. Here the person is offering, the sage is offering oblations of a nectar or an ambrosia called soma. This soma is a creeper that grows in the upper Himalayas. A lot of research have been done to find it, and it is crushed into a juice, and that juice is a little intoxicating, and that is actually offered to the Agni. Here Jata Vedas means Agni. Next week I'll give you the etymology of the word Jata Vedas. And then you are all-knowing, and then please destroy whatever is unfriendly to us. And then this divine Agni that leads us all, may he protect us by taking across all the perils of our life so that we can cross this ocean of challenges. You be our captain, and then you take us in your boat across the sea, and then please also remove all the negativities in me, all the wrongs in me. So remove the wrongs in me, all the negativities in me. Take me across safely through my life too. And then 3, protect us from all peril. So for protection, for beautiful right passage, for comfortable passage through our life, number 2, and also to purify us. So these are the 3 prayers. So what is the, when can we use this mantra in our meditation and contemplation and repetition? When can we use this? Whenever a person is going through a lot of challenges in one's life, either from external enemies or internal enemies. Internal enemies, as we all know, are 6 in number. What is known as Shadvarga, the 6-fold, that is desire, kama, rage, krodha, then miserliness, lobha, attachment and confusion, moha, arrogance, mada, and jealousy and envy, matsarya. So these are the 6 negative qualities, internal qualities. So here we are asking Jata Vedas, the Agni, to remove all these internal difficulties. And external enemies also. External enemies such as what the Shastras say, Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adibhautika and Adidaivika are external. Adhyatmika are internal. So all these 3 you remove. And for that you can do the japa. So next we will take up in the next class what is the etymology of the word Jata Vedas.
You said this shloka is from Rig Veda, right?
Rig Veda.
But we don't pronounce it like
we had many Rig Veda mantras are there in Yajurveda also. Yeah. Many mantras are. So some mantras they mandate that we chant according to Rig Veda method, and most of the mantras do not. So this is, if you want to go, it is in the first mandala, 99th Sukta, and it is the first mantra. So that is where the Jata Veda says, from 199.1 in Rig Veda.